This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
What's happening, everybody? I'm Brian.
I'm Mark.
And today on Talking Shit, we have Tripp, Carr, and Isabella Contopoulo, motocross rider and former motocross rider. But before we bring them on, Mark, what do we got for podcast of the month?
For podcast of the month, we have Bev's Video Kingdom. Now, they are also on the Deluxe Edition Network, which you can go on and find them either on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, you name it, they're on it. But I also have another one that I have to shout out for, because last week we only had one podcast last week. So this week we found out that they're also doing, I believe, a podcast of the month, of the week. And well, since last week's was up and done, we are going to we're going to give a shout out to them. And that is Stephen Jarvis and Friends podcast.
Excellent. We like that guy.
Yeah, he's a little weird, but I like him.
You want to bring those two fine folks into the room?
Yes.
Hey, what's happening, Tripp? Isabella, how are you?
Good.
Perfect. Guys,
they sound thrilled.
Welcome to our little podcast here. Before we get into a bunch of questions, I was sent over your guys' resumes. I couldn't go through the whole thing because you guys have a very extensive resume. However, Tripp, you started out, how old were you?
I started when I was 9.
So you started out at 9 years old. Your first race was Dade City, Florida. Is that right? Yeah. Beautiful. And you placed third overall on the 65. Is that right?
Beginner class.
In the beginner. Hey, fantastic.
Got to start somewhere.
You got it. Hey, that's right. And Izzy, you also raced Dade City. Is that right? And
yes.
And you were in the 110 Auto Clutch Championship series. Is that right?
Yes, that used to be one of the biggest classes at Dade City.
Beautiful. You know who else came from Dade City? You know who used to race out there? Guy named Stewart. You ever heard of that guy?
Yes.
Well, guys, welcome. We're gonna let you guys talk more about your wins and your success through the motocross world. I'm gonna go ahead and kick it off with this very first question for both of you. Who was or who is your biggest influence and got you into motocross?
I would say my parents, because they used to race four-wheelers, and my uncle as well, because he used to race dirt bikes, and that's kind of all what got it started for me.
Okay.
Yeah, for me it was my dad, my brother, my grandpa. We owned Honda of Crystal River, so I was surrounded by motorcycles my entire upbringing. I used to watch my brother and my dad go race, and I wanted to be there. So then I went.
Really cool. I love the smell of that gasoline that you guys run on those motorcycles. It's fantastic. It smells like cotton candy. Mark, you laugh, but I'm being honest.
I know what they smell like. It's just funny how you said that, though.
Sorry. Mark, you got a question for these folks?
Yeah. Well, we both know that, or we know that you've done the Loretta Lynn's. Now, what's it like for somebody that doesn't know what that is? What is that to you guys?
It's like the biggest race in America, pretty much. Only 42 of the fastest riders get to go there, and they just compete to see who's the fastest rider in the nation.
Yeah, so it's the dream for motocross racers. If you're into motocross, Loretta's is where you want to get to. It's the biggest stage you can get to before you go pro. And for some people, you're not going to go pro. So that's your biggest stage, and that's where you're going to get. And if you don't get there, you're putting a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it, and it's a really big disappointment.
And you haven't been disappointed very much, is that right? I mean, you guys have both been to Loretta's.
Yes, I've qualified 3 times, but the disappointments have been huge.
Okay. Tripp?
I've only been there one time, but I think I tried 2 times before that, and it's really hard to get in.
Well, you said 42 of the nation's top riders. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
So let's think about this. I mean, there's millions of people in the world, in the nation. So yeah, I can, 42, and you got a chance to go, and you got a couple of chances to go. Even if you didn't make it to the podium, right? It was still an honor, I think. And I would think, if I was a motocross rider, I thought that would probably be pretty bitching.
Yeah. I didn't even care how I finished. I was just so excited to be there.
Yeah.
I would be too. It's like a big thing for amateurs.
Yeah.
What's it like, in your own words? What's it like when you're just out having fun, on a dirt bike or racing bike or whatever, and you hit that a good jump? What does it feel like to you?
Feels like you're just floating. Feels like gravity's just turned off and you could just do whatever you want, kind of. It's super easy to like move the bike around in the air compared to on the ground. But I don't know. I don't really know how else to explain it.
For me, I kind of hate it. I hate jumping. Yeah, that's kind of known. I used to joke around that I should race flat track because jumping is where I've always gotten hurt. But when you do it and you do it right, it is the best feeling in the world because your brain knows how to do it and your body just follows along. Once you get out of the thinking about doing it, it's a really amazing feeling. You can't feel it in any other sport or really doing anything else.
Yeah. So a part of that question, Mark, that I wanted to kind of tag along on your question there. What do you think about in your head when you're in the air? Is it like how you're coming down, or like do you have like flight music in your head? Something like that?
For me, there's 2 scenarios. You get up to the jump and you are killing it. You're rocking. You're gonna hit this jump perfect. It's a great feeling. You are like, I didn't get hurt this lap. This is good. But then you get the jumps where you're gonna crash, and it's like life is in slow motion, and you are just waiting for the impact, and it's gonna hurt, and that is the worst feeling ever. It hurts. That is worse than like actually getting hurt.
Tripp, same question to you, buddy.
What was the question again?
So for you, when you hit that jump and you're floating and you're in air, like what's going through your head? Is it how you're going to come down, or is it, do you
He
have
wants to know. He wants to know. See if you. I'm sorry, Brian, for interrupting. He
No,
wants
you're
to
fine.
know. Do you have a song in your head when you're flying? When you
No.
take that jump?
When I hit the jump, or at least going up to it, I'm just thinking about how much throttle to give it so I don't like undershoot it or overshoot it. And I'm thinking about not crashing and how I could save us if it goes wrong.
Yeah.
Now onto that one. When you go up to a high jump and you've never done it before, let's say you've never hit that jump before, um, I know that you can't go into it thinking, oh, I can't do it, but does it ever scare the shit out of you?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I know Isabella, you're probably going to say yes.
Oh yeah. I choose to not ride tracks that I can't roll on the first lap so that I can get a feel for it. So I've turned down a few different opportunities of riding really awesome tracks because you have to hit their jumps first lap, and I just can't do that. I don't know why. You know, any other person probably could, but for me, I just overthink it.
So when you guys approach they're called tabletops. Is that what they're called?
Tabletops have dirt in the
Yeah.
middle. There's doubles, triples that have like holes in the middles, and
Yep.
that's yeah.
So when you're approaching these for the very first time, do you guys get a chance to go and practice these tracks before the race? Is that right? Like you get a chance to go and ride the track? Do you ride fast or do you ride calm, cool, and collective just to scope it out?
I just try to ride smooth and slow just for like the first 3 laps, and then normally for practice you get like 5 laps, and then the last 2 laps I go like 95%, just so I
Yeah,
don't
I'd
get
say
hurt while practicing.
yeah, that's true. I'd say the same. You know, most tracks I've already ridden, so the fear level isn't really there. The first time you ever go to a track, that's when things can be a little testy. You don't really know how these jumps are made yet. You know, you don't know if they're gonna kick you or not. So it takes me a lap or two to really get comfortable, probably 2 full laps to hit all the jumps and to start getting smooth and focusing on lap times. But going to like Dade City, first lap, second lap, I usually, you know, hit everything because I've been there so many times. I know what to anticipate.
Where's your favorite place to race?
My favorite place is probably Orlando MX, just because of how sandy it is and how rough it gets, and how much you have to manhandle the bike.
So for this question, I have a very unpopular opinion in the motocross world, but my favorite track is actually Loretta's. And Loretta's is like the roughest track. It becomes the roughest track after racing it for 5 days. But the jumps are really small and you can go fast, and there's sand, there's, you know, hard pack, there's a few jumps, and I love Loretta's.
Have you guys ever got to meet Loretta Lynn?
No.
No, I don't think anybody really has actually.
Hell, she was a great singer, great person. Never got to meet her in real life, but you know, she's definitely one of a kind.
So talking tracks, I know I'm pretty positive both of you guys have been to Daytona. Is that right?
Yep.
And I've heard that Daytona in the motocross world is a good track, with the exception of the sun or something, the lighting you can't really see. Is that a fact, or is that all fiction?
I think that's all fiction.
Well, I had 1 year I had like the first practice in the morning, and it was also the day after daylight savings time. So part of the track was like super dim. So I understand where that comes from. But as the sun rises in the day, I don't think it's that bad.
What's more fun to race in, wet or dry?
Dry.
Dry.
Why do you guys say dry? Why wouldn't wet be the way to go?
Well, the wet is like harder. I do better in the wet, but it's just you have to have so much more balance, and you just have to think more compared to dry. And your tear-offs aren't like glued together like in the middle. Only some of them are. But like if you just have the regular tear-offs and water gets in them, and you won't be able to see good at all. And just little stuff like that just is annoying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my dad used to call it survival mode on like wet weather racing. And I always ended up doing pretty good because I'm a survivalist. I want to be safe. I want to get home safe. But I always ended up doing really good on those races. But you don't get to show what you like. You don't get to go fast. You just have to get through those races.
Yeah, I was watching a few of those races with my son-in-law when I was up north last year, and he some of them looked interesting because it was all dry, but in the wet ones, it was like you seen them all over the place, and then trying to stay up and stuff, it was harder.
Guys, how does a young person get really good at riding? How would you guys both started really young? I think Tripp, one more time, how old were you?
I was 9.
And Isabella,
4 or 5.
holy crap. So how does a young person though go from just a leisurely getting on like a little PW50 or something like that and going out riding to becoming where you guys are?
Just keep training hard, just keep grinding, and then eventually someday you'll get to where you would want to be.
Yeah, passion and dedication. There's a difference between the kids who get on a dirt bike and ride through the trails just for fun behind their house, which I think is awesome too. But that's a different sport than the kids who spend Friday, Saturday, Sunday at the track, 40 weeks out of the year, whose parents work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday to get us to the track Saturday, Sunday. And you just have to be dedicated. There's times when you don't want to keep riding the track, but if you want to be good, you have to.
So that kind of leads me to another question. Is this a family-oriented sport? Because you guys do the sport what is that? Almost every other day, you're riding in some kind of practice, or you're going to Dade City, or you're going to Daytona, you're going to overseas to race and that kind of stuff. When mom and dad are busy, what do you guys do as far as family?
If my parents can't go, then I can't race because they want to be with me in case I get hurt or anything like that.
Yeah, until I turned 18, that was the truth for me too. But motocross is the most family-oriented sport there is. I I joke around. Every Facebook post I make for a birthday is like, "Happy birthday to my second dad," because I have so many track parents, moms and dads, people who I love, who I watch their kids grow, I've grown up with, people who have made me breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Tripp's mom and dad used to take such good care of me. So many people would let us stay with them. It's getting to the races. It's a sacrifice for everyone, and you're all in it together. Some of my best friends who I talk to daily, I raced with 5 or 10 years ago. I go to school with people who I raced with, and it's a community that you couldn't build any other way because we're so deep into the passion and the dedication of the sport that we all understand each other a little bit differently than other people who don't race.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, you
Yeah, I
gotta
mean,
have.
and that's why we got you here asking all these questions, so that we can try to understand, you know.
Do you guys have siblings?
No, I'm a single child.
I have a brother.
Does your brother race?
He used to. He's older, so life.
Oh, okay. Man, I wish I was an only child.
So aside from family, somebody has to train you, right? So do you guys have riding coaches or instructors, trainers? And if so, who were they? How did they impact your life?
So I trained with this guy named Dean Diaz. He owns the Orlando MX motocross track, and he's helped me with a lot of my riding. He's pushed me hard, and he's got me to like these big races like Loretta Lynn's and racing for Team USA, and he's really helped me with just my confidence and going fast.
Yeah, having a coach, having a trainer, that is kind of the name of the game once you want to go that next step. I've been through pretty much every trainer in Florida, I would say. I've trained with everyone at some point. Um, I was most dedicated, I think, to Tim Ferry and Randy Yoho, and they took me from, a beginner C rider to a B rider, in women's class easily because we just put that dedication in. And it's every trainer's different, and that's why you have to find that person that works for you. So I think that's why my dad and I just would hop around to different trainers because it's tough. It's tough to make it to everyone's tracks. It's tough to work your schedule around them. And also, I don't get along with everybody very well sometimes. So sometimes I would butt heads with some of my trainers because I don't want to do what I'm told. If I didn't agree with what they were telling me to do, I would definitely butt heads with them. So we would move on to the next trainer. But I'm definitely blessed to have had so many incredible experiences with all of these different people around the state of Florida. And just everyone's different. They all give you a little bit of their personality. They all teach you something new that you probably wouldn't have thought of. And I think it's good to get a trainer if you really want to go to the next level.
Very good. Mark, your question, buddy.
Who's for people that don't know, who's the biggest the sports star in your sports? I mean, who's the biggest one, name?
Definitely Ricky Carmichael because he was the most consistent, the fastest, he was the most calculated, and so that's what got him so many championships and the nickname the GOAT for the greatest of all time. And yeah.
Yeah, right now my favorite's Eli Tomac, but he just lost the points lead, so that's a shame.
Well, you had on your bio, Tripp, you said, who is one of your other favorite riders besides Ricky Carmichael?
I like Jason Anderson a lot. He just is so loose on the bike, and you could just throw it around super easy. He's very aggressive and just doesn't care what people think. And I don't know, he's just chill. There's just a lot of things that I see in him that I would like to better myself in.
Is he? Did you list anybody else as far as your other favorite riders?
I mean, Tomac, Sexton, you can't dislike the guy. He's trying so hard right now. RJ Hampshire, he's from home, so we got to support him.
Got to support.
Who else? Nate Thrasher, he's young. I want to see him do good. And then, of course, the Lawrence brothers are wonderful people and great on a motorcycle. So.
In your guys' groups, I've watched the professionals, but when they go and win and stuff, sometimes they do some stunts. Are you guys allowed to do that?
No. Well, I can do like the no-hander and the no-footer and the one-hander and all that stuff, but I can't do anything where I could just like casually just flip a motorcycle backwards and stuff like that. I can't do any of the extreme stuff.
Not yet, at least.
I've watched Tripp do the silliest things when he wins a race. So if anyone's stunting at the end of a race, it's Tripp Carr. What I do is I jump the jump conservatively and I get off the track because that's what I want to do. I want to be safe.
Mark, that was a great question. I actually thought that same thing. In your free time when you're out riding a bike, do you ever get the the want, the need, the desire like, I wonder if I could just, how long can I wheelie this thing in the yard, or, has that ever been one of those things where you're not on the track and you are riding and you're like, oh, I wonder how far I can wheelie?
Yeah, when I'm normally sometimes done with training, I'll just go out and like see how far back I could get the bike before it drags the fender. And normally I can't do it, but there's been some times where I just crashed from doing it. So,
My dad's like the wheelie king of bicycles and motorcycles, and
Scooters.
everything, yeah, you name it. Um, and I am proud to say that I've never purposely wheelied a dirt bike, bicycle, scooter in my life. So I leave that for him. I don't purposely wheelie. Maybe I'll try to whip, but it doesn't usually end up good. Might throw like a leg off, and that's usually not on purpose. So.
I'm sure that this is a multi-part answer to this question. What is the hardest thing about motocross racing? What is the hardest thing about motocross?
Probably your intensity during the motos. Like you just have to be 100% like just wide open, so you could keep your position or gain positions. If you're not, then you're just gonna drop positions and you won't gain them back. That's what I think is the hardest thing, for me at least.
I would say that the toughest thing is the mental game because everything's the mental game from training to riding to racing, the gate drop to the end of the race. You can give up at any time, and that's a choice. You have your competitors constantly around you. Sometimes you train with your competitors. But I think the mental toughness is something that a lot of people don't talk about, but it is the most difficult portion of it. I keep joking about how I don't jump, but really it's just a mental game for me because every jump that I have ever done, I have basically landed well, just minus 2 or 3 times. And now I talk about not wanting to jump.
One of those times that you've hit a jump, one of those times that you guys have crashed in your career since you've been racing, what was the worst accident that you've had?
Probably when I was going over so in a turn, sometimes there's this thing called an anthill, and it's just like a little roller on the inside of the turn, or you could just go around it. And there was a kid on the other side of it that I didn't see, and I ran into him, and I broke my radius and ulna, and then I dislocated my hand. And I think that was the worst one I've ever had.
For me, it's pretty like most people know this. I got landed on in the back of C class at Gatorback in 2019, 2020. I didn't hit a jump because if I would have jumped, I would have hit the person in front of me, the person behind me, hit the jump for reasons that I couldn't tell you. Landed on me. I broke my right radius, or my right, what did I break? My right humerus, my left radius. So both my arms were broken. Yeah, it was rough. It was 3 months. My mom had to shower me, feed me for about a month because there was just no pressure in my arms. Take me to the bathroom, you name it. My mom had to do it to her 16-year-old daughter. So that was the worst.
Actually, that you got lucky there. I told you guys when we first started talking that I was gonna tell you about my son-in-law. His name's Warren Nelson, and he got injured. He was taking a jump and something happened, and when he landed, he broke his back. He wasn't able to walk for the longest time. He has a lot of problems walking, but he's in a wheelchair. But he did walk for his wedding, so that was a good thing. he was determined to do that. That was really amazing to have him walking then. But he still has hopes that he'll be able to walk.
Yeah, I was absolutely blessed because, a foot to the left or the right, and that could have been my back or my neck. So yeah,
Do you still ride?
I do. I'm a sophomore in college right now, and I don't live near my dad, who usually takes me to the dirt bike track. So it's tough for me to ride, but I do when I can.
And of course, we know Tripp's still riding and racing. And is this is this a great career field to be in? I mean, we know it's trying on your body, we know it's trying on you mentally, but it builds you into a better person. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, definitely.
Um, so let's get off of that for 1 second. What do you do in your free time? Do you have free
Um, right now, I've been building this huge toy dirt bike track. I still play with toys, I know. I'm 15. And I like playing video games as well, but whenever I could hang out with my friends, I'd like to do so because there's no kids in my neighborhood. They're all grown-ups, so it gets kind of boring.
Yeah,
time?
Brian.
That's what I like
Sorry.
to do in my free time.
So like I mentioned, I'm a sophomore in college, so I go to the University of Florida.
Go Gators.
I go Gators. Um, I work two jobs. I'm a part-time 2-year-old teacher, and then I also work on campus. I love being outdoors. I like to hike. I like to be on the boat. I like to paddleboard. Really just trying to stay active and enjoy the life that I'm living, um, and know that every day is a blessing to be alive.
Excellent. Excellent.
Now, how how old do you have to be to? Yeah, I know that you guys are amateur in the amateur division, right? Or you were. How old do you have to be able to go pro,
I
or
think
what do you
it's
have to do?
Um,
I think it's like
it
17 and you
used to
have to have
be, I
graduated
think,
high school.
16. Yeah, I think they just made that a new rule that you have to graduate high school.
Hmm.
Smart.
Dream race. Tripp, what's your dream race? Izzy, what's your dream race? Location, the people that you would race with, and the conditions on
Although
the track.
you are aware that that's a lot of racers,
Well, I
so
mean,
you have to bring it down a little bit.
Um,
Um, Izzy, you go first because I need to think about this.
all right. I would say my first year of Loretta's dream race, go back to that with the skills I have now. And the first year I went to Loretta's, I raced girls class. So that's a super mini. I would race those same people, but in women's class on my 250. And that is a dream race right there. I think top 15 has my name all over it.
anybody in particular that you'd want to be in that race with you?
Um, oh, I would love to take it back to the days when Maggie Garris and I used to race together because she was always like way above my level, and then just as she was going to college and getting out of it, I was like stepping up. So, if we could like run that back and I could race with her, she's one of my really good friends. That would be a great time.
Cool.
Um, I think my dream location for a race would probably be somewhere in Europe because the dirt's really nice over there. Well, I take that back actually. It's like it's very unique in a way because it's just like powder on concrete with a bunch of rocks. You have to be very crafty with the way you ride. So I think I'd probably want to race over there again. And then with I think who would I want to race with? Any pro rider I think would be fun, even though I'd probably get demolished. But
It's your dream race. You're making it. You know what I mean? That's why I asked that question. I mean, if you look up to Ricky Carmichael, and you said, "Hey, I just want to race against him." I totally understand that. I mean, to me, I think I would just like to learn how to do it and then race both of you and lose terribly.
That sounds good.
I can run as fast as that motorcycle goes. I'm just kidding. I'm fat.
Yeah, I'll even take. I'll even video it. How about that?
Let's talk about what motorcycle you're on now, what motorcycles you've been on, and what you like. What do you like about the bike?
I started out on a KX65, and then I think 3 months later I got a KTM, and I've been on KTM ever since. Because they're just more for racing. It's easier to turn. It has more power. It's just like that bike except on a bunch of steroids, pretty much.
So right now I'm on a CRF 250. I love that bike. It's so easy. Like, I know I'm gonna live if I if I need some extra power last second. It's so reliable. I love it. My favorite bike I've ever rode or raced was my Super Mini. It was a KTM. My dad had that thing ready for Loretta's, and that was a fast bike. And I was riding it, and it was good. And I always wish I could race it again. I tried to race it the next year, but got bigger, got taller. I was also aging out. It really wasn't good, so I couldn't race it. But that was a good bike. I wish I could ride it again.
Now I had to ask, going through Tripp's stuff. I had to, because I don't know what's what sometimes, so I had to ask my son-in-law, what does schoolboy mean? So let's have one of you guys actually answer that one.
I really don't know what any of my classes mean. My mom just signs me up for them, and then she tells me the race numbers, and then I just make sure I'm on time. So I'm the wrong guy to ask.
Oh,
Okay.
Tripp, come on. It's schoolboy. It's 12 to 17 years old. So it's the boys that are in school. It's just a name for a class, but they're not discriminatory. A girl can race that if they want to.
And you've raced in the boys' class, is that right, Izzy?
Oh yeah.
You've smoked a couple of boys here and there, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be you can't not race motocross and not race with the boys at some point. I just race women's nationally because the women's classes and the men's classes are drastically different on the national level. Locally, I'll race a men's class all day long. It's way more fun. There's usually not a lot of women at local races or statewide races.
Do you get a lot of griff for being a female racer?
Honestly, no, but more than I would have expected. Most people love to see it and love to see, a few women out there racing. But yeah, I've had one or two instances where I beat some boys and their fathers were extremely rude to me. And there's just one family that's coming up in my head, and I would not give them the time of day right now. They were just so hateful to me, and it was not my fault.
You're
And
out
one
there to
last,
compete. You're out there to win.
Right. I'm sorry that I'm a little tougher than your son. Maybe you should have raised him differently.
It builds character. It's got to build character. So I mean, that built your character to be able to go out there and do that. Tripp, have you raced against any of the females, any of the women?
Not really. There has been actually, I take that back. I've raced against two, and I think they're the fastest or some of the fastest women in the nation. Their names are Hannah Hodges and Jordan Jarvis. And I will say they are really fast for being women. And the reason why I say that is because the women in the sport, they can't go as far as the men. So some of them just give up in a way, I guess. But they are really fast, I will say.
what do you got to do as far as building your stamina up to be able to maintain these races? Because what's the longest you go in a race? Like you're going to be on this bike for how long? And what do you got to do to build that stamina for yourself?
I I think the longest I've ever raced on a motocross track is like I think 20 minutes, and I'm pretty sure that's like I think 7 laps or something. And you just have to ride to just build up your stamina, do longer motos and what the races are, so you can stay at 100% the whole race.
Yeah, Loretta's motors are 20 minutes plus 2, so I've done those. Some people do like GNCC and stuff, and those are hours of racing. Looking back at it now, I would give you a whole different training program. Like the ideal training program would be like, super cardio focused. Let's strength train. I feel like I would be a great trainer because I would tell you what to do, but the good Lord knows I did not do that. I wish I did because I probably would have went further. But I used to have to run around our block like 5 or 6 times in a day, trying to get my cardio up. Really the best you're gonna be is on the bike. That's the best way to train, but you have to do the things off the bike too.
What is your mindset right before a race? Do you have a routine that you do before a race?
Yeah, I don't let my mom anywhere near me because she talks to me too much.
She
Because
loves you.
I just like to get zoned out, and I just do that until I get to the gate, which is like an hour sometimes. And when I'm zoned out, it just helps me ride better. I stay more consistent, and I just think because when I'm not zoned out of it, I'm just too hyper, I guess, and I'm just all over the place, and my mind's just racing, and I don't ride as good. So yeah, that's why I like to get zoned out.
Yeah, Tripp's right. If you're thinking too much, then it's not gonna be a good race for you. If I don't pray before my race, then that race is just not going to go good. And I could not even know that I didn't pray before my race, but at the end, I'll have crashed a few times or something will happen. And I just know, like, I forgot that routine. So I always pray on the line. And I don't know. I think I just have to keep it lighthearted and easy. And, I think I have something to prove, but at the end of the day, I'm here to race and have fun. And I'm just happy to be there. And, I can only do what I can do. So.
Where do you guys see racing now? Tripp, is this going to be what you want to do for a career, or what do you have planned for your future? Izzy, I think you are now since retired or partially retired, and I know what you're going to do for your future, but we would still like to have you tell our audience.
I'm trying to make it pro. I'm very close right now. I think I just have to get like a few more points for my pro license, and I'm hoping to turn pro when I'm 18. And by a few more points, I mean a lot more points.
Keep
But
racing. Keep racing.
I'm still a lot closer than most.
Yeah, and you're so young, Tripp. Stop putting that pressure on yourself. For me, I'm partially retired. Now, I would like to pull up to Dade City or Waldo and, put in a few fast laps. But this is something my kids are going to be doing. Like, I don't care. I do care, but if my kids don't want to do it, they're going to have to do it because I don't care if you don't like the dirt bike. Like, my family has been made at the dirt bike track, you know. My character was built at the dirt bike track. My perseverance, my determination, my will to go somewhere in life. It's all I can attribute that to racing and growing up there. And so, if my kids don't like it, I guess we'll try like baseball or something, but like my kids are going to be racing dirt bikes.
So it sounds like you're going to support your children regardless of what they do. If they don't want to ride dirt bikes, if they want to play soccer or tennis, you
No,
sound like you're going
she said she was going to make them do it.
to.
Get it right.
I mean, they just have to be well-rounded, starting with the dirt bikes.
Tripp, how do you feel about that? Do you, when you get older and you have kids, do you think that that's going to be something that you're going to want your kids to do as well? At least give it a shot?
Yeah, I'll definitely start them out young, but if it's not something that they don't like, then whatever, I guess.
Jeez, Tripp, you made me seem so harsh. Goodness.
You all right? So for the few fans that we have, they don't know where we're from, but we're from a little place called Homosassa or Lecanto, Florida, Citrus County, and there is a young man that lives around the corner from me named Tripp Carr, who had a track in that his father had built for him in his yard. And I remember driving by watching not just Tripp, but also seeing Isabella there racing that track.
I
Can you
remember
tell
that.
me a little bit about that track?
It wasn't really a track that he made. I made it myself. He made a little jump for me, I should say. And I actually do kind of have a funny story about when Isabella was riding. So, on the street behind us, there's these people with this half zebra, half donkey. So, my mom was like, "Hey, why don't you guys go over there and stuff? Bring some green beans." And so we were like, "Okay." And so we went, we pet the donkey. We still had a lot left over. And so we're like, "Hey, let's see if we could feed this bull." And so I got off and I tried feeding the bull and it started rushing us. And so Izzy was driving the four-wheeler, and before I could get on, she started going. So she was leaving me behind. So I had to hang on to the back and I was getting dragged. And then she had to stop so I could get back on. And then after that we just left. We were not hanging around there anymore.
Sorry, Tripp.
You're fine.
So you're fast. You're just not as fast as a bull, is what you're telling me.
No, definitely not.
So how big was that track? Is that track anymore? Because I kind of see a little bit here and there at the house. Is that still a little practice area for you, or no? Not really.
No, not anymore. I do have a pit bike track like in my front yard that I built when I was bored, but now we're selling the pit bike because it broke again, so.
Well, maybe Izzy will let you ride the Honda or something, so we can see how you do on a Honda.
That's a good idea.
Have you thought about riding a different bike Trip, or are you guys going to stick with KTM, gas, that kind of stuff? Or Dad said that you tried out a Honda at one point. How did that feel?
It felt good. I like the Hondas a lot actually because they're just so easy to turn. They have a lot of bottom end power. And I think on 250s, I would like to go to Honda because the new KTM's, their front fenders are like very, very weird. And I personally don't like them. And I feel like they would just distract me too much when I'm riding just because of how big they are. And I can't really see into the rut. So I think I would venture off to a different brand of bike. But I don't know. We'll see.
And for you, Izzy, what kind of advice would you give Trip if he does jump on a Honda?
I'd tell him to jump on my Honda. Come ride my bike. I love it.
Got to let you try that thing out and see how you do on it.
Yeah, Honda.
What do you like about the Honda? What is it that you like about the Honda? Because he said he liked that power, that bottom end power that it had.
Yeah, it's comfortable. It's not really a bulky bike.
Easy to turn.
Yeah, you get on it like you would any other bike. There's not a big adjustment, and that's a difficult thing for some people. Jumping from bike to bike, it can be a big adjustment. It can change the way you grip the bike and your stamina and all of that. So the Honda's just easy, lightweight. It's quick to turn, and it does everything I need.
Very cool. What do you feel? What do you feel is your greatest moment?
I think my greatest moment in motocross is getting the news to race for Team USA, because I couldn't believe it that I was one of the 6 riders that they picked. I was just so excited. I was ready to do it then and there and now. And I don't know, it was just such a cool feeling. I was so proud of myself because I was working hard and I had just gone on to a bigger bike, so it was cool. It was cool.
My greatest moment was, we talked about the story of breaking my arms. So I broke my arms in October. I got back on the bike January 1st of that year. October, November, December recovery. January 1st, I got back on the bike for the first time. I trained through area qualifiers for Loretta's, regional qualifiers for Loretta's. And in May of, I think it's 2020. My dates might be a little off. I went to the track that I broke my arms at. I raced 3 solid motos, and I qualified for Loretta's again, 5 months after breaking both my arms, or, 6 months, maybe 7 months. And that was just the best feeling ever. My dad and I went into that race hopeful, but I don't think I was where I needed to be, but mentally I was a mess. And I don't know, I turned that switch off every race, and I put in 3 great motos, and I have some pictures that were taken of my dad and I hugging, and I was just on top of the world. I couldn't believe I qualified again for Loretta's.
Mark, you got a question? I keep asking a bunch. I'm sorry.
I
got a
know.
ton.
Yeah, I figured that. Well, I'm figuring it's about time that we ask them, an important question. What about their sponsors?
Absolutely.
Well, I'd like to thank my sponsors: Jimbo's Ironworks, Factory Connection, Fly, Liette, Stubbs 11, Motorcycle Enthusiast, Cherubies, 100% FMF, and I think I got them all.
Mom and dad, he did it all for me. Family. It's been a while since I've done this, so I'll run through just a few that I have on the top of my head. We got Latcher Racing, Factory Connection, Western Power Sports, Scott Allen Roofing. Goodness gracious, I know there's some I'm missing. I don't know. Love Motorsports, of course. How can I forget Love Motorsports? Throughout my whole racing career, there's just people in my corner constantly, and I couldn't be more blessed and grateful.
Excellent. Yeah, big shout out to those sponsors who have taken good care of these fine young riders. I'm positive that they appreciate everything that you guys have done for them, and that's why they are winners in this field. That's why you have champions in Citrus County, because you have the support of local businesses. So, let me ask you, for the people that really don't know about racing, and you were talking about points earlier, Tripp. How does that work? Is there teams in racing like there is in NASCAR, and then how do the points work?
So there is a lot of different teams. Like pretty much every manufacturer has their own team, and then you have the off satellite teams, which are they can't get factory components like the other teams. They're just overall a tinier team, and they're easier to get on because they are tinier. And I I don't think you have to have any points to get onto them. I think you just have to have a nice, clean resume, a lot of wins, some national championships, a few top tens, and yeah, I think that's all you have to do. I'm not on one, so I don't know. So
how's the points work?
So like
For to put you for competition, like.
I'm pretty sure you just have to do a lot of national races and have like I think a certain amount of top tens, and then you'll get AMA points, which is like the head of all motocross racing, and then they'll give you a card that you could. I don't I don't know how it all works. I'm pretty sure they just check your card and then you can go into the pros. I don't know.
Yeah, to jump on what Tripp's saying, to like point series wise, like Dade City Point Series, got a few championships there, but then you go to like Loretta's and stuff. These are different series. And so what you place is the point you make. So if you get first, you get usually 1 point. I think at Dade City they do 100 points. And then you just add up your points, and whoever has the most points wins. So it's not like golf where the least wins. Whoever has the most, oh, I guess that's not true. At Dade City it is, but national level you want the least amount of points because if you go 1-1-1, you have 3 points, and 3 points you're going to get the championship. So I guess it varies on what championship series you're trying to race in. Yeah.
Now, when you say national championships, is that just overall for the season? You get one championship, or is that national championships? Certain races are considered national championships.
Certain races are considered national championships. You have like a lot of them spread out through the year. It's not necessarily just a whole series. So like if you show up to this national and then you get first, you win that national and you get this really cool number one plate. And that's the same for every single other national.
The numbers that you guys carry on your bikes, where did they come from? What do they mean to you?
Um, my number
And
is
what
23.
is your number? I'm sorry. Yours
My
is
no, my number is 23, and I picked it because I was born on September 23rd. So that's why I picked my number. There's no other reason that I could think of right now, I should say.
so you're going to stick with that
So
one.
Yeah, as long as I can.
Tim.
so my number is 62, and like the 2-digit number is really ideal. So I understand why Tripp would stick with 23. My number used to be 162, which was also my grandfather's number, my dad's number, and my brother's, and that's where it came from. I've tried to figure out like why they picked 162. They don't have an answer. I guess that's just men's thought process sometimes. Just threw a number on the bike one day and it stuck. And then I went to Loretta's, and at Loretta's you can only run a 2-digit number. So we just tossed the one off of that, 62, and I stuck with it because I figured we're gonna try to get to Loretta's again, so don't need to throw the one back in front of it.
Right on.
Yeah, most people, when you hear the number 23, you either hear it for it's always about Michael Jordan or LeBron James or something like that. I'm glad that wasn't the reason for you. I'm wanting 23.
Do you have another question, Mark?
Oh, hell no.
You don't have any more questions?
No, they've answered them all.
All right.
So
All right.
I'm gonna let you.
I got a couple
I'm
more. I'm going to keep going. I got a couple more if we're okay. Is that okay, guys? Bike builds. Are there any modifications that are able to be done to your motorcycles? If so, who does those for you?
There are certain classes where they're not allowed to have any bike work, and that's normally the limited classes. But there are other classes where you're allowed to modify your engines. So like in my class, the classes that I run, I don't have any limitations, so I could do whatever I want to the motor unless I don't change the CCs, because that would be cheating. So I have like one bike that I have bone stock, which is probably one of my favorite bikes. And then I have the other two bikes have some stuff done to them. I don't know what. But my mechanic is Jimbo from Too Fast MX, and he does an outstanding job on the motors. He's been doing them for a very long time, so.
So my dad's motto is it's not the bike, it's the rider. So usually my bike is just pretty stock. Suspension, I think, is the most important thing. We always go with factory connection. They always get it right for me. And I think suspension just really changes the whole way the bike maneuvers. It's based on weight, height, and everything. And there's such a variability in people's height and weights. Like, I wouldn't want Tripp to jump on my bike right now because we're two completely different people. So suspension, you can do basic things, tires and stuff like that. I've never ridden with a paddle tire, and some people would say that's insane. Some people change their paddle tires, like change a regular tire to a paddle tire just for 1 or 2 races. And then of course motor work. My dad did some on the super minis for Lorettos and stuff like that, but we just show up and race. It's up to the rider. If you're not fast enough, then you're not going to make it.
Now, before we let
hold on, I got one question. So you got a motorbike in front of you. Can you actually strip it down and put it back together?
I could take it apart, but I don't know how to put it all together.
No, actually, it's funny though, because people like ride their scooters in Gainesville, and they ask, like, they know I race dirt bikes, and so they'll ask me how to change their oil and stuff, and I can do that, but I couldn't take a bike apart and put
So
it
you
back
know the
together.
common sense stuff to do to it.
I could do common sense stuff, and it's scary the amount of people who cannot do that.
All right, guys, before we let you go, is there anything else that you want to talk about before we let you go?
No.
No, but thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thank
Absolutely.
you.
You're welcome.
Absolutely, guys. How about this? Tripp and Izzy, do you have followers? I'm sure you have followers on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, whatever platforms you're on. If you do, if you just want to go ahead and shout out your usernames on there, and if you want more followers, hopefully you will get them.
Yeah, I don't know my Facebook one because my mom does the Facebook, but I know my Instagram is Tripp_Carr23 with 1 P. And then my TikTok is Tripp_Carr23 as well.
Yeah, I mean, like Instagram, Facebook, you can find me, Isabella Contopoulo. My Instagram is basically just like my traveling and my college life, but there's still some motocross on it, and that's just Contopoulo. And yeah.
Perfect. Well, guys, thank you so much for being on with us tonight. Tripp, we're going to wish you a lot of luck with your upcoming endeavors on the next race that you have to face. And for you, Miss Isabella, I wish you a ton of luck with both of your jobs.
Yeah, we might need a lawyer in the future.
And yeah, I'm definitely going to need a lawyer because Mark's going to try to sue me or something. I don't know.
No, don't think of it that way. My God, she might not even be that type of lawyer.
All right, guys. From us here at Talking Shit, I'm just going to let these folks go back to doing what they do best. Go ride, rip it up, and we'll see you out there.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
Have a good one.
Well, Mark, that was a really, really great interview, I think, with those two. What do you think?
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. We had give us more info than what we normally get.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting the female and male aspect of what it takes to be a motocross racer. And I mean, you've got Tripp Carr, who in 2022 won the Florida Championship, that 125 series schoolboy, and just a ton more. And then Isabel, God, man, how many times to Loretta's? 3 times at Loretta's.
Right.
After a severe injury to both of her arms, and then she goes back to place. I think that was when she placed top 12, 13, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. She didn't. I don't think she told us earlier, but no.
Just absolutely amazing what those two were able to accomplish and are still able to accomplish. So we look forward to watching them now and in the future. So
Oh yeah.
if you guys aren't following them, follow Tripp Carr, follow Isabella Contopoulo in the motocross world, see what they're up to, and just watch their careers roll forward.
Oh yeah. I can't wait to see what they do next.
Yep, that's right. What do you got for us, Mark?
We'll be back here tomorrow. We got Gene. He's going to be helping promote, or he does promote horror cons. And he's also writing a book, and he'll talk to us more about that tomorrow.
Oh, that's perfect.
It's going to be interesting because, it's always interesting to talk horror. Anything else, you guys can always check us out tomorrow. You can check out this, in other podcast episodes that we've done on YouTube. Tonight we did a special one doing it on Facebook. I'm not sure if we're going to keep doing that forward or not just yet.
If you can watch your language, young man, we'll keep a bottle of soap next to you, just so you can watch.
No.
We don't want to get soft band, hard band, whatever the hell it's called. We're not trying to get
it's called. We're not PG, and we're never going to be PG.
That's right. But
so we'll do it for locals. We'll do Facebook for locals, and then everything else.
We'll figure it out as we go.
Oh, that's what we've been doing. Why not? But we'd like to thank Deluxe Edition Network for their wonderful network. They got, I think over 20 podcasts on their network now.
Yeah, thanks for letting us come on there and talk shit.
Yeah, one of theirs is one of the podcasts of the month is Bev's Video Kingdom. And like I said last week, we forgot to, tell Stephen Jarvis and friends, congratulations for being podcast of the week. He's a great guy. Go check him out. I don't know if he's done anything just recently, but he's got a lot of stuff. If you like hearing stuff about,
he did the football thing.
Yeah, he does the football stuff. He does that very well. He can tell you anything about Minnesota history.
Yep.
Especially with the sports. He can also tell you good stuff about. He did one on the 49ers. He's done one on the Cowboys.
Cowboys.
Sorry. I'm waiting for him. I believe he's doing one on Detroit soon. That's going to be an interesting one.
He's definitely tuning in. You're definitely tuning in for that one. I guarantee it.
Yeah, man. Of course, I do listen to him, even though I tell him I don't. And then he'll also be on here next Thursday. Oh, I think it's next Thursday. Yeah.
We'll get the dates up on Facebook. So for everybody following us on Facebook, it's at Talking Shit. That's SHTTT. No I. And follow us there. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter, TikTok. Where else you want to follow us at?
Everything. It's
YouTube.
all the same.
Get over to YouTube. Shit. Please like us, subscribe.
Like, share, subscribe. I mean,
it helps us tremendously.
I'm going to put that across the whole back of the screen here. Like, subscribe, and share.
All right, guys, last thing I've got for you is if you head over to the Deluxe Edition Network, there is a link for an awards program that's going on right now called the Denny's. if you want to take just 2 minutes of your time to vote, make sure you vote for Talking Shit as one of the top podcasts. We would appreciate it.
I've already voted like 5 times. Oh,
You cheater!
no, I didn't. No, but I mean, you can vote as many times as you want. It doesn't matter, but always vote for Talking Shit.
Well, from us here, Mark, I'm ready.
All right. I guess
Have a
that's
good
it.
night.
You guys have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow night.